So obviously you gotta make working out a habit in order for it to be successful. But I think it goes a little deeper than that. Because how do you form a habit? A lot of the time, working out in the sense of making it a habit is sort of equated to, it's gotta become as normal as brushing your teeth. I don't know if you've heard that before, but I've heard it a lot, and I've even said it to clients. But the problem with the whole brushing your teeth, I guess, analogy, is that brushing your teeth only takes a couple minutes every time you do it. You brush your teeth twice a day, it's gonna be like a 4 to 5 minute commitment total. But working out, it's gonna take a little more time than that. And it's probably also gonna take a bit more effort in order to be successful with it. And that's where I'm going to challenge you, if you're someone who's struggling to make working out a habit, to try and find some actual joy in it. You see, I'm lucky in that, not to brag, but I'm lucky in that a long time ago, I fell in love with working out. So it's never really been a chore for me. Of course, there are some things in the fitness realm that I like more than others, but for the most part, I appreciate that I'm able to move this body of mine, and I'm able to bring the heat and challenge that body of mine. Now let's warm up these dips. And I could lie to you and say that some days are a struggle in terms of getting myself to the gym, getting myself into my workout. And of course there are some days that feel better than others, but there's never really been a day that I've worked out where I've been like, ugh, this again? And understand too, a lot of my training is centered around bodybuilding, and bodybuilding training is very repetitive, let me tell you. But you've got to learn to love that repetition. You got to learn to appreciate and be grateful that you're able to move your body. Okay, so I've talked about enjoyment, and then I've talked about the gratitude side of things. And I really do think those components must be present in order for the habit to really be formed and stick for the long term. And I am in no way, shape, or form perfect. I would never claim to be. Hopefully, what I've said thus far does not seem like I'm bragging about something, because we all have certain habits that are good, certain habits that are bad, habits that are hard to break, habits that are hard to take on. But I think I'm an authority of sorts to speak on the subject of making the fitness thing a habit, because I've made it a habit for the majority of my life, the vast majority of my life. But again, that very much came from a love of the craft. I think they say, it takes, I actually don't remember the exact amount of days they say it takes to form a habit, but I feel like that's kind of nonsense. It's sort of a case-by-case thing. Don't get the number of days in your head. Just, if there's something that's good for you, such as working out, try and accept, I guess in the same vein kind of as, brushing your teeth, that this is going to be a part of your life for the long haul. There's not really a rush to perfect your craft, we'll say, but there might be at least somewhat of a rush to get that process started at the very least. There are few pleasures in life greater than, I guess, just acknowledging your abilities, your ability to see, smell, taste, hear, feel, all that good stuff. But along with that, there's few greater things than acknowledging your ability to move this vessel that you exist in every day. Yes, sitting down, relaxing and chilling feels pretty good as well, but feels a lot better if you got in your daily dose of movement. But don't put all this pressure on yourself to perfect the thing, okay? Your average person is not an athlete, is not a fitness model. The average person just needs to be freaking healthy, okay? And believe it or not, that's really not that difficult to do. I mean, there are a lot of ways to be fit and healthy. course, you could take the traditional lifting weights in the gym route, or you can focus more to body weight, calisthenics, do a lot of yoga. I know like pole fitness is getting more popular, there's CrossFit, martial arts, and so on and so forth. But yes, as a personal trainer who specializes in weightlifting, strength training, bodybuilding, I'm going to encourage that everybody do some form of strength training. But again, don't overthink it. Just try and move your body on a regular basis. And as a part of that, sprinkle in some challenge along the way. Because if you're not challenging that body, it's never going to really get better. In summary, don't look at working out like it's a chore. That's your first problem, okay? It is not a chore, it is a gift. I've said it already in this video, probably too many times, but the ability to move your body is a gift. It's an amazing just phenomenon, is that we get to articulate our limbs in all these ways and I guess experience the challenges of physical activity and get better through those challenges. You know, human beings were more or less made to move, which is pretty clear. And there was a time in our history where it was much more of a necessity to move. And now with all of the modern advancements that came with industry, many of which are good, some of which are bad, and some of which are kind of a mixed bag. Anyway, the point is, just because we have a lot more things that make it so we don't need to move like we once did back in, pre-industry, we'll say. And of course, again, it's gotten worse and worse since then. I'm talking about, office jobs and just even having a car to go from point A to point B. Doors will open for us now. Especially with all of that in consideration, it's even more of a necessity to get your workout in. Because when else are you going to be moving? Ugh. Come on! Oh my God! Anyway, hopefully that ramble made sense. This is actually part 2 of my workout for the day because I didn't get to finish my workout earlier. And my brain is scrambled. But you only need so much brain power to get that workout in. Yes, you'll need a little bit. Enough brain power. Enough brain power to give yourself the willpower to push in the workout. And I understand that time is precious, okay? Trust me, I do. Time is actually one of my, we'll say, frenemies. But, if I haven't made it clear already, working out is very much worth doing. And therefore, spending that coveted time on moving that body, it's hard to argue. But also know that it doesn't need to take that much time, okay? Especially if you're really pressed for time. If you do like 3 30-minute strength training sessions where you're really pushing yourself in those 30 minutes per week, and then daily you're going for some nice well-paced walks, and then of course eating well, hydrating, doing some stretches here and there. That's all, again, the average person really needs to do to be healthy. It's really not that much. And you can do a lot of it from home too. You could get yourself a set of resistance bands, and while you're watching TV, do some exercises. It's really hard to make excuses for these things, okay? Trust me, I've heard them all. But I think I've said my piece. But thank you for listening to my ramble. I wish you health and happiness. I'll see you next time.